to come to the session on women in technology. So just a little bit about me. I'm the Chief Learning Officer at Prosperity and co-founder of Prosperity. So Prosperity 24/7, if you don't know who we are, we're a technology company that's based here in Jersey, but with clients globally. And my background and my education, as you'll see here, isn't in technology. In fact, my degree is in English and Italian literature. But finishing my degree, I ended up moving into a technical role because really that was where I felt my skill set was. So as soon as I came to Jersey, I started following a Microsoft route and put myself through various different courses. And as you can see, gained quite a number of qualifications. So I've been in the technical sector for almost 20 years, primarily working in learning and development and training. I'm also a member of the Learning and Performance Institute, which is the IT Institute for Training, and a member of the Institute of Directors as well. So I guess the title itself, Women in Technology, is a funny one, isn't it? Because it's almost reverse logic in some ways to actually have to address that, and focus in on women in technology as an issue, rather than just saying, well, we're all people and it should be people in technology. But the fact is that women are in such minority when it comes to the technical sector that if we do choose to not address it, it can be ignored and almost accepted as a norm. So I'm quite keen today to kind of talk about this issue because I do see it as an issue. We do need to encourage our girls and our young women to join the technical and digital sectors, really. So today's session really is talking about women in tech. I'm going to look at the stats that are out there to support this, the statistics, both European, global, and then back to local. I'll probably look at you, Gwen, for some more up-to-date stats when it comes to some of the numbers that you're collating here at Digital Jersey. But it's quite staggering actually when you do start to look at the numbers. And then I'm going to look at why is this happening, and suggest some reasons. I certainly don't have all the answers here. Everyone has their own opinion, and we'll be putting it out to the floor obviously for you guys to talk about afterwards. And finally, really, I want to just talk about the schemes and the places that you can go if you want to learn more about technology. Maybe you want to move from the sector that you're in, or we all, if we have kids, young girls that we want to encourage into the technical sector, where should they go, what should they do? And that way we can hopefully improve on those numbers. So let's take a look at the numbers. So as it stands right now, there's less than 7% of women in technical positions in Europe. And that's quite staggering because actually there are more women working than ever before. So 93% is filled by men in technical roles. So why is this, and why are women not being attracted to that technical sector? If we look, these are some stats from the US. In the US, there's been a drop of almost 11% since 1991 to 2014 in the number of women that hold computing jobs. And that can be women who actually were employed in the technical sector and then made a change, dropped out, or people just haven't been encouraged to actually join in the first place. The second part of this slide focuses on kind of education. It's surprisingly based on Irish facts. You may have picked up my accent. And in fact, a lot of this research has been done in Ireland. That's where I've got my stats from. But it talks about new entrants into graduate programs into university, those studying the STEM subjects, and STEM being science, technology, engineering, maths. And there's been a drop, again, since 2005 to 2014 of almost 10%. So what we're getting here is a picture that there are more women working, there are more women studying, but there's less women taking up those technical positions or technical studies. So why? What's it like here in Jersey as well? Let's go back to something local. Now these stats that I'm presenting here is the latest that I could find on the States of Jersey website, and it was done through a review, I think, prior to Digital Jersey in 2012, and where they looked at women, females, and I would say in more of a digital rather than a technical role. So it says 16%, but I don't know what you think out there. I think it's quite high to say that 16% of females have technical positions if you compare it to the 7% in Europe. So I think I don't think we're necessarily comparing like with like, but I wanted to just show what I had. And again,
it's not right, because these go back to the FIT codes that you're basing the digital industry on are from 2003.
yeah,
So we're talking about pre-Facebook.
Exactly.
Puts it in
Yeah.
perspective,
Yeah.
but the changes in the industry since then. So
it's massive.
It's wrong, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you could help me improve on this slide set.
We're doing
if we
research at the moment, trying to really get a handle on what the digital industry should be and how they should be properly categorised. It's very out of date.
Yeah, absolutely. But still, even with 16% as high, it's an interesting fact, isn't it? Why are we only getting that percentage that are actually interested in technical roles, and what can we do to encourage that? If we now look at more kind of a technical leadership role, we're looking at less than 20% of women in executive roles across the world. So I was thinking of this from my perspective. As far as I'm aware, I'm the only female director in a technology company in Jersey and potentially the Channel Islands, and that's scary, isn't it? With a board of directors, that you don't actually have a female on the board in a technology company, being specific there. Okay, so now let's talk about actual technology companies. So not just technical roles in those companies, but what percentage of women make up the roles within each of these companies. And you'll see them listed here. We've got Amazon, all the usual technology companies that you're all very familiar with. But we're looking again at eBay being at the highest, with 42% of the company being made up by women. Intel is coming in quite low at 25%. So these are roles that aren't technical roles. They can be admin, they can be creative, they can be anything. But we still have a minority in there, which shows to me that women just aren't necessarily attracted to technology companies. Why? What are the reasons for this? What can we do to make that different? So I'm going to suggest three reasons for this. As I said, this isn't these aren't the only reasons, but one of them sticks out really as the gender stereotypes, and what I mean by that is boys are better at maths, technical subjects, women are better to go down the arts, humanities route. Number two, lack of a talent pool. So when we're recruiting, who can we choose from? Do we have a lot of female applicants to be able to choose from? And the very last one is a thing called group favoritism, where culturally we tend to recruit from people who are like-minded, who are the same cultural background as we do. So let's look at the first one in gender stereotypes. And from an early age, we know that boys tend to be that's a boy thing. Go and work in that technical role. This is a girl thing. You're better to stick with arts, humanities subjects. And in fact, when I did my degree, I remember back in Ireland choosing my subjects for my Leaving Cert. Leaving Cert is the equivalent of your A levels over here in the UK. And the subjects I chose, my career guidance teacher, it was never discussed about technical, topics. It was almost, suggested that was the route I went down. And I did my degree, but as soon as my degree was over, and even before my degree finished, I was already doing some computer science courses outside it, because I actually had made the wrong choice. Now, you were young at that age, aren't you? It's very hard to make the right choices. You're depending on that advice from your career guidance. And I think that is something that we do have to think about. But here, just to give you an example, the OECD, which is made up of 34 different countries, set an exam to boys and girls, same age, across those 34 different countries, to see what results came back. And the results came back on par. So there was no difference that boys were better at that technical exam than girls. However, despite that, the stats show that 1 in 5 boys choose to take that route to study technology, while 1 in 20 girls do. So it's quite low. Let's talk about the lack of talent pools. So if we consider the fact that girls aren't actually interested or aren't being encouraged or don't make a choice to go down the route to study technology, Therefore, we don't have female technical graduates. And when it comes to recruiting, we don't have female applicants. Or we have a very low number of female applicants. And I certainly know at Prosperity, when we recruit, I would say we are very much non-gender biased. If anything, we're desperate to have more females in the company, because we do see that it does make a great balance of the way that we think and the way that we work and the way that we innovate. However, I know there's some roles that we advertise and we don't get any female applicants at all. So it's not down to the skill set, it's down to actually lack of people applying. The last one is in-group favoritism, and this is based on a study that was done by the American Sociological Review, where it says that you tend to recruit people who are like-minded or that you feel are culturally similar to you. So if I take the example of myself, and I'm recruiting, I've got a position to fill, and I've got a female applicant and I've got a male applicant, and I feel that I can connect better with that female, that they have the same interests as me. This review shows that you tend to kind of go forward and offer the job to that person. And if we think about the male-dominated, industry, therefore men potentially recruit men. That one's up there. I don't know if I fully agree with that one, but there is reviews on that and saying that can happen. I wanted just show you very quickly, as long as this works, just a little video on women in technology. And we may have to skip to some ads here, so excuse me if we do. Yeah, Giorgio Manning.
Seat of life. Technology is definitely not just for men. The economy is growing and the job market will be ever expanding, and that will mean that there are opportunities that are available both to men and to women alike.
Absolutely.
The same way that hundreds of years ago women just didn't wear trousers, for example, and then they did, and then it was all good, and they thought, well, why weren't we doing this like before? It's really comfortable. For some reason, there are all these myths flying around. Women just don't get interested into it as much, and then when they do, they realize it's just as another profession.
And you want to have as much diversity in a boardroom or in a meeting room or wherever it is as possible, because otherwise you get what they call groupthink. So everyone just thinks the same. So you're never innovating, you're never coming up with new ideas, you're never moving your company forward. To be successful in technology now, one, you have to be very creative, and two, you have to be very collaborative. I think a lot of females have those traits. So I think it's a perfect career for women.
When I was 15 and I was doing my studies and someone would say to me, Jackie, you're going to be one of the top women in Microsoft, I would have never believed them. But IT has enabled that.
Okay, so I just wanted to kind of stop talking at you for a moment and let you kind of consider what's being said out there. Go back to this presentation if we can. So the question is, why is it important to get women in technology? Why is it important for that to happen? And really, having a gender-balanced workforce will just strengthen the technology sector and help it retain its marketplace and its position. And we talked about recruiting and the difficulty in recruiting and having enough technical roles, which of course Digital Jersey is very aware of. But if we can attract the brightest and the best women, the IT sector can just grow both in size and stature and thrive really. So what we're really aiming for is a sector that is more robust, competitive, innovative as well. And if we can attract and retain that talent and broaden the demographic as much as possible, will increase that, the diversity within the technical sector. So this is why I feel that it's so important. So, what's being done out there in order to change it? So this is just a percentage. 39% of employers say that they need, they have a vacancy for STEM skills of some sort, and they're having that difficulty in recruiting them. So let's look at some of these initiatives that will hopefully help to get women back in tech. Education. So, I don't want to stand here and have a go at our schools and our education systems, because education isn't just about schooling, is it? It's about everyday life, it's about us as parents, it's about us encouraging both our boys and girls to embrace technology, not only just gaming and what they want to do, as we all know they like their iPads and devices, but it's about them seeing where technology changes lives. It's part and parcel of every sector, in fact, and there's roles out there for them to do that. I do have to talk about the ICT curriculum. I helped my nephew here with his A-level ICT exam recently, and the curriculum and what is covered on the curriculum is just, he couldn't enthuse about it. He had no connection with it. It really was a struggle for him to do it, which put him off. We need the curriculum to match what is needed out there in the marketplace, I think. At the Tech Fair back in November, I was chatting to Rory Steele, who's I think he's associate director or assistant director of Bollier, and he was talking about offering the girls some extracurricular virtual classrooms on subjects within technology that they're interested in, because he has only a certain amount of time in school to cover the curriculum that he needs to cover for the exam boards for them to gain their qualification. But ultimately, what we're finding as employers is that some of the graduates that are coming out with skill sets that mismatch what's actually needed in the marketplace. And I know technology is a difficult sector because it goes so quickly. It's hard to keep up with it. As soon as the curriculum's written, technology's moved on. But I do think we need to kind of balance, that needs to be balanced out. Champion more role models. So having female role models, and we were talking about this when we came in actually, having somebody in a leadership role, female leadership role, is great. So some amazing ladies out there. Sheryl Sandberg, which I'm going to show a video of in a few moments as well. Ruth Perez. And I think, for my little girls, to be able to see women like this in very strong technical leadership roles is wonderful, because they can kind of think, well, if they can do it, why can't I do it? It becomes the norm. Changing the negative stereotypes. Really, this is, I guess, a much broader subject than what I'm going to touch on today. But again, it goes back to the interest that, the idea that boys are more interested in tech than girls. And I do think culturally and society as well, subconsciously, we make choices that we don't actually realise about how we may perhaps not always include our females or our girls and things. I do it sometimes myself. I've got a girl and I've got a boy. And I do have to correct myself, and I do think we do have to kind of address that ourselves in order for it to change. And lastly, not least, is the networking, as this is a great forum here locally. Digital Jersey gives us the opportunity to be able to meet like-minded women. We've got the Women's Forum where you, Emily, you said that you went recently and were inspired to write an article on it, which is fantastic. We've got Emma here, who's obviously trying very hard to set up a Women in Technology Forum. Having that ability to have peers, and obviously male peers are great, but having female peers where you talk about the challenges, it's a very key part of being able to kind of move forward. If you remember back to some of the stats that I showed earlier, we saw a drop of women who drop out of roles in technology, and partly it can be because of lack of support or feeling maybe a little isolated. So I think having these networks and this peer-to-peer support is really important. And of course, online there's lots, along with local, and face-to-face groups, we have online groups, and there's lots out there to support and to also help you to, if you potentially want to look at, gaining skills online as well. Okay, so globally, what schemes are out there? There's lots of global schemes. This is just touching on a few that I picked up on. Some of them are specifically around coding, others are just technology as a whole. And what they are there for is really to support young people, encouraging them to kind of take on this technical slant. Specifically girls, yes, there are specific girls ones. Perhaps we need to look at mix as well with regards to what's available to us. But if we look here in Jersey, as I mentioned, Digital Jersey does some amazing programs, community programs, which again, Gwen could probably talk better about this than I can, but Parents in Space was certainly a program that you started at one stage, Coding for Women, Technovation, and so, you know, National Coding Week as well, so lots of initiatives, which is fantastic. It's really just to try and keep that enthusiasm going. School programs, because we also do need to look at our teachers. You know, we've got them delivering curriculums where technology, they can embrace technology and actually deliver it in a much more technical, digital fashion. I know you did do school roadshows from Digital Jersey at one stage. I'm not sure if that's still happening. Jersey Coders Club, the Tech Fair. At the Tech Fair in November, it was fantastic to see such a mix of girls and boys, because before it started, I wasn't sure if it was going to be the majority of the boys' schools kind of coming through, but it was really on par. It was, you know, there was a nice mix. And then industry skills programs, business and enterprise vocation, one-on-one consultancy. We had Codex and Richard there earlier. And lots of some companies really take this on. Barclays have taken on the Barclays Digital Eagles, where they have kind of lunch and learns. They call it Tea and Teach. So teaching, you know, their employees, some of the younger employees teaching the older employees how to embrace technology. Okay, so just to finish off, I just wanted to show this last little video. It's specifically around Facebook, but I really liked the tone of it. It just kind of finishes off the session, I think, in a nice way, and hopefully opens it up to some discussion from the floor. If I can get my mouse to work. Apologies for the sound. Can you hear that, Tony?
Really critical that we get more people worldwide, particularly in the United States, into technical fields.
We want to have people in the workplace that look like the world, and the world isn't just one gender.
I think women just bring a very different perspective to technology. The way that they use products, their experiences, the way that it's built, the way that they think about the way other people are going to use technology.
People who aren't necessarily a part of the process. That's a loss for not just the rest of us who don't get that perspective, but also for them who don't get to help shape the future that these kind of exist.
Problems of the future. These are human problems, they're not men problems. We're going to need women to help solve those problems, and we need them